This is Ordaishi, the Bulletproof Entrepreneur, featuring interviews with the most exciting and amazing entrepreneurs across Africa. Here's your host, Chi Odogu.
Hi guys, welcome back to the show. This is a concluding episode where I interviewed Mira Mehta, the co-founder of Tomato Joss, a for-profit social enterprise that is raising $50,000 on Kickstarter.com in order to purchase equipment for their tomato paste manufacturing facility based out of Kefi, Nigeria. In this concluding episode, Mira talks a lot about the Kickstarter campaign, how they came up with their idea, what their goals are, and how they intend to raise $50,000 in order to purchase the equipment, like I said earlier. So please take a listen, and if you feel inclined, please go to the Kickstarter website, which is linked at the bottom of the video you're watching, and donate to their campaign. They have 5 days left until the campaign is concluded, and would sincerely like to see these young budding entrepreneurs achieve their dreams of raising enough money to kick off their venture. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Ordaishi, the Bulletproof Entrepreneur. Till next time, take care. Bye.
It's not about failing. I think failing is actually good. It's just about getting up again.
Okay, so that was a freak out moment.
Yeah, that was a big freak out moment. I don't even remember what it was that spurred it on now, but I know I remember the feeling. I was like, oh my god.
Okay.
Panic.
And you just mentioned about making money and returns. So let's talk about, as much as you can, of course, we don't want you to give away all your business plan or any secrets whatsoever, but if you could just put us in like a ballpark range of what you think a smallholder farmer can make by working with you guys in this venture, and then, you know, how do you guys intend to make profits out of this? Because you're doing a social enterprise, but it's also for profit, and every astute, reasonable businessman will have to have some type of way to pay the bills and, you know, be able to get out of the chicken coop and into an apartment or a house eventually. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, how you guys intend to make some money for the venture and for the people that you're working with.
So a lot of it has to do with scale. As I had said, I think earlier in the interview, you know, tomato paste is a commodity. And if we're thinking about, you know, if our primary market, at least initially, is going to be those repackagers, they already own the brand. They already have the distribution system. What they just need is the bulk product. And the bulk product comes at a global price, you know, and it's very easy to find out what that price is by going online and doing a little bit of research. So you know what your upper bound is going to be on revenue, right? And that means then that it becomes a game about cost. It becomes a game about how low cost can you produce so that, you know, you can sell at this global price and still make a profit. And when we're talking about, you know, agriculture and producing commodities, the way you achieve cost savings is through scale. And so, you know, when we've been thinking about our growth plan, we've basically been thinking, how big do we have to get such that, you know, we can then create a company that's going to be profitable and it's going to be, you know, worthwhile for me and Shane to have been in this for 5 years or 7 years or however long it's going to take to get to that point. So that's sort of been the sort of way that we've thought about growth. But when you think about it, you know, the other thing that you need to think about is the unit economics, right? That like, no matter how big you are, there has to be some level of profitability at the very, very small scale, such that, you know, when you get big enough, you can cover your fixed costs, right? That's sort of how that piece of it works. And so we've done a lot of work trying to understand what the farmers spend today on all of the inputs that they use, how much labor goes into the farming, and then at the end of the day, what they're able to achieve in terms of prices. And the price of tomatoes, because we had talked about this a little bit earlier, you know, tomatoes are a dry season vegetable. They grow best in the dry season because the rain sort of ruins the crop. That means that the price of tomatoes actually varies 5 times over the course of the year. So if for those of you guys who know about Naira, which is the Nigerian currency, at the lowest point in Nasarawa State, 40 kg basket of tomatoes sells for 1,200 Naira, which is what, like $8 or something?
Close to 10,
to 10, a little less than 10, maybe $7 or $8. At the highest point of the year, which would be probably in like July, August, when you have like the full-on rainy season taking place, the same basket of tomatoes will sell for like 8 to 10,000 naira.
Wow.
So you can see, and if you think about the other side of that is the volumes, right? So when the tomatoes are selling for 1,200 naira, that's when all of the farmers are putting their tomatoes out to the market, and that's why you have that situation that I saw, when I was driving around in northern Nigeria, where the farmers just can't even sell to the market because the markets get oversaturated. There's like what they call a harvest glut,
Yeah.
and they're not able to sell their products. So, the average farmer who basically farms maize during the rainy season, and then as soon as that's over, starts planting tomatoes. They start planting probably sometime right around now. This is right when the maize harvest sort of finishes. They will be making maybe about $1,000 total on their crop, and that's like
a total of $1,000 now on their crop
on a hectare, say.
Okay.
And that's supposed to be their income for say 6 months, right? $1,000. It's not a lot of money. We think that if we can work with the farmers to get their yields improved, get them better, higher quality seedlings. So they actually, right now the farmers will plant their seeds under a tree until they're big enough, and then they'll transplant them in the open field. But the seedlings don't get the same kind of controlled environment that we can offer them from a greenhouse.
Okay.
So we actually provide the farmers, instead of seeds, with seedlings, and help them to transplant them very well, because the transplanting process is also very, very crucial. And then support them by helping them to do crop checks to look for disease, helping them to make sure that they're watering their plants accurately, that they have the right kinds of irrigation, that if there's a problem that comes up, they don't just go to the market and buy an unmarked bottle and put it into their knapsack to spray and then spray the field with some random chemical, but that they actually have like a very clear idea of what the disease is and how to treat it.
Yeah.
With all of those things combined, we think that we can help the farmers achieve an income of $5,000 for the harvest. So that would be a 5x increase. And that's after we take into consideration all of those services that we provide, and the farmer would actually pay for that out of their harvest amount. So even after they remove the cost of the seedling, the cost of the harvesting, the cost of the education program, we still think we can improve their incomes by 5 times.
And that raises the level of wealth of the people in the area, because you have other levels of businesses springing up, because the farmer is wealthier, probably get better health care.
Exactly.
They'll be able to build schools to send their kids and stuff like that.
They say every additional dollar has a $10 impact in rural communities. So, if you think about basically injecting $4,000 into the local economy per farmer, and then if we can work with 1,000 farmers, that's $4 million going into the economy.
Yeah.
And we think that actually can make a huge, huge, huge impact in the region.
Exactly, because part of the reason why people were having this increase in the terrorist activity, Boko Haram, is because the people, and it's driven primarily in the north, because we have a lot of young people coming out of the country, and then some may be able to go to school, some may not be able to go to school, but they don't have jobs. They feel they've been left behind by the government, they're disenfranchised, and then somebody can sell them an ideology and say, hey guys, these are the people that are the reason why you are where you are. So
Exactly.
Why don't you take up guns and let's fight against them, and you'll be able to be successful. By raising the standard of living of these people in this region, you can see that they'll see a viable option of how to make a living for themselves and their families, and they will not need to engage in violent behavior or all these type of activities, and those issues that we're seeing now in terms of terrorism and increased violence will kind of subside and reduce, because why would you want to go and kill people and loot or whatever where you could possibly get killed yourself, whereas you can just have your farm somewhere, you make a living and you live a comfortable life. Okay.
Exactly. That's really at the core of what we're trying to do, is provide that stability and provide a source of income, a source of economy, a source of labor, to help increase job security, and not just job security, but good jobs. A story that I remember very, very clearly from my time at Clinton. I used to sometimes go to HIV support groups because I was doing a lot of work with HIV, and you want to understand the people that you're trying to help. So I remember in Guagualada, which is an area outside of Abuja.
Yeah.
Probably don't know about it since you're a Lagos boy, but it's it's close to the airport.
Okay.
And I was at a support group out there, and I remember this guy who had this story, and he said, "Look, my name is so and so. I'm here because my wife has HIV, and I don't know if I have HIV. She told me she had HIV. I went to the doctor to get tested. They told me that the result was indeterminate and that I had to come back. So 6 weeks later, I left again, and I went to go, get tested a second time. Now, this guy worked as a baggage handler at the Abuja airport. So he was one of those guys who would carry the suitcases from the airplane and put them on the, luggage turning thing that comes into the airport, right? He comes back from the second test, and he finds out that he doesn't have a job anymore.
Wow.
Because somebody found out that he had gone to the clinic to get an HIV test, and his manager was like, "You can't work here anymore. You don't have a job here anymore." And it felt like, to me, that was just such a striking story, because it was like, this is a guy who is trying to do the right thing. He's, he had to make a choice about whether he was going to take the afternoon off of work or not. And he did take the afternoon off of work to try and do something that was going to be good for his life. And now he ends up not having an income. And that just made me feel like, I want to be somebody who's a good employer. I want to be somebody who creates agency for the people that are working for me. Not that I get taken advantage of, and not that I, end up playing anybody's fool, but these are, people are honest. And if they honestly want to try and do something that's, right for them and right for their family, they should be able to do that, and they should be able to work for a company that can support that, And so I think that for me, one of the things that I really care about is being a good employer, being somebody who actually cares about, understands the needs of my employees, encourages them to do the best work that they can on the job, so that then they can have the best life that they can live outside of the job.
That's very interesting. So what about the potential returns for tomato juice itself? We've spoken about the smallholder farmers. Is there any light or you can shed on how your finances are expected to look?
Yeah, I can try. I mean, this gets to the point of how open do you get, and how secret.
No, I mean, obviously we don't want you to spill the beans on your secrets, but yeah.
I mean, tomato paste is a commodity, so we don't expect to be making the kinds of returns that you make at a tech company. But we think that at scale, if we're producing some level of bulk paste for those repackers, some level of what we call value add products that are branded, with a Tomato Joss brand, and we can talk about the Tomato Joss name if you want.
Yes.
And some level of potentially products for export to the region, because this whole region is really a tomato eating region, that we can achieve margins of something like 30%.
Okay.
Which is pretty good and pretty healthy.
Profit margin. Okay.
So that's the model that we're working with right now.
Okay.
And scaling up to a business where at the end stage we think we can probably be about $30 million in revenue.
Okay. Nice. So let's talk about the name itself, because I do know what tomato juice is, but tell the people what is tomato juice.
So the term tomato juice refers to a city. So people actually in America think this Tomato Joe's. Like JO''S. Nobody really understands. They're like, what is Jos? And I'm like, well, Jos is actually a city in Nigeria, which is very well known for vegetable production. And the term tomato Jos actually is a pidgin English, like Nigerian English slang for a cute girl. Because the tomatoes from Jos are extra sweet and ripe and juicy. And so, if you're somebody's tomato Joss, it's like a very nice term of endearment that you would say to your girlfriend or something like that. So, from a branding perspective, we thought that was actually a really cute way to highlight that this is a company that's proudly Nigerian, and that, is going to make a very high quality product that is, made by Nigerians for Nigerians.
Nice.
So that's sort of how the name came into play.
Cool. So you trademarked the name in Nigeria and the US?
We've just in Nigeria so far. I don't think we've worked on it in the US yet, but
Okay.
maybe we should. I don't know.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. And your Kickstarter campaign is running for the next what, 7 days or 8 days?
That's right. Seven
So
more.
what's the goal of that? What happens? Let's look at it on the other side. What happens if you don't achieve the full $50,000? Tell the audience where you are right now and what you need to achieve.
So as of last night, we had 408 backers, and we had raised about $44,100, give or take.
Nice.
We are planning on using this money. So we're trying to raise $50,000. So we have about this $6,000 left to raise in about 7 days. So we need to raise, just over $1,000 a day. We are planning to use this money to buy small scale processing equipment so that we can, start to gain expertise in that tomato paste processing space. As we said, the biggest proof point for us is proving that the tomato yields can be right and that the right kind of tomatoes can be grown in Nigeria. But as we're doing, that proof point, it's also important for us to demonstrate operational experience and expertise in creating the product that we actually want to make, even though we know that at small scale it's not going to be profitable, right? So we're certainly not going to make money in the first year as we're trying to just prove that we can do it. But this $50,000 is going to go directly to purchasing processing equipment. From a group that is in Nigeria that has developed the ability to make small scale processing equipment for tomatoes. So we're going to try and buy local, which we're pretty excited about. If we don't get this money, it's going to be it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be very tough for us to raise that money through other avenues. We think that at this point we're so close that we're really hoping that we'll make it, and not just that we'll make it to with one big donation. I think big donations are great. Anybody out there who has $100, $200 to spend.
Hey, Bill Gates, if you're listening, Mark Cuban, Mark Zuckerberg, cut one of those unlimited checks.
Exactly. But more than that, I think we want to sort of increase, as I said, the community of people who cares about this project, knows about this project. Right now we have 408 backers. And goal is that, by the end of the campaign, I want us to be above 700 backers. So that means that everybody who's already given, go back and find one friend to give $1, and increase the community of people who want to see this project succeed. And especially in Nigeria, who eventually would be the end consumers for our project. And so that's sort of really the goal of what we're trying to do is, raise awareness, actually get enough money to buy the processor, because that's really crucial to the business. But then also sort of foster a community of people who really, care about the future of the country and care about trying to do something a little bit different.
Nice. And so I don't know how a Kickstarter campaign works. So if you don't achieve the $50,000, you get nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, really?
Yes. It's all or nothing.
Okay.
So we are, we're definitely trying to pull out all the stops and make sure that we hit that $50,000 target because, at this point we're so close, and it would be a big shame if we didn't end up being able to make it.
Yeah. Okay. Now it makes sense because I thought you'd still get that money anyway. But...
No. So some campaigns like Indiegogo, which is another sort of crowd rising campaign, they have one where whatever you raise, you make. But Kickstarter, they really feel that it's important to have a set goal and a set reason for why you have that goal, right? And the fact that you couldn't raise this money any other way, which is why you're going to do it on Kickstarter. And you need it for a specific purpose. If we got $45,000, we wouldn't actually have enough money to buy the processing equipment because it costs $50,000. So we need to raise that full amount, and that's why they sort of have this all or nothing approach.
Okay.
But it's a little scary.
That makes sense. So what are the level of prizes you get for being a donor to the Kickstarter campaign?
Well, we have all manner of prizes. That was actually really one of the fun parts of the project, was putting together the sort of prize list. For $1, you can join and get our email updates. We send out updates, every week. Well, a little bit more frequently right now because we're in the campaign. But I think, when the campaign ends, we want that community to continue. And so we'll continue to send updates to all of our backers, every couple of weeks or so, just to keep them posted on how we're progressing, how the farm is going. The rewards, range. They're all related to tomatoes, obviously.
Yeah.
Because we're a tomato paste company. So $25 is the first point at which you could actually pre-order our tomato paste, which is what we're going to use the processing equipment to make in this first year. So you can buy, 100 ounces of Nigerian tomato paste, the first of its kind. Nobody has done it yet.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. And then, higher end prizes for $75, you get paste, you get spices, so you can make your own jollof rice. You get recipe cards, so you can learn how to cook the Nigerian way. If you don't already know, you get a t-shirt, to be on Team Tomato Joss. And you get to adopt a tomato plant, which I think is kind of cute. So we're actually going to go out to the fields and take a picture of an individual plant for each one of our backers at that level, and write a little note from the tomato plant saying thank you. So even if you don't actually make it out to our farm, you can still.
So I'm going to have my very own tomato on your farm.
It's like adopt a shark or adopt an elephant. Adopt a tomato plant. Then we have higher end prices that a couple of them have actually already filled out. So we had one that was very popular that was fine dining Niger style. So for $250, our backers were able to go to a Nigerian restaurant close to them and have a 3-course Nigerian meal. If you want to go a little bit fancier, for $1,000, Shane and I will fly to your home and cook you a Nigerian meal, a dinner party for 8 in your home.
Wow.
So, some of it is
So what are you guys going to make? Is that a secret?
What's that?
What are you guys going to cook for that price?
Well, for that prize, we're gonna have surveys sent out to all of the people who back us at that level and ask them what they want, whether it's a goosey or a vegetable soup.
You know how to make a goosey?
I'm learning.
Okay.
I love cooking, and so I've actually done a lot of. I learned how to make akara. I learned how to make moi moi when I was living in Nigeria. I eat a lot of food that people don't even know about. Like there's one Igbo food that I love called okpa.
I know it. Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
So made out of bambara nut. Everyone is like, what? My friends in Lagos even are like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, it's this food. You can get it in like a nugu. I don't know.
People don't travel.
There are 2 Igbo girls who used to sell it on the side of the road on my way to work. I would buy it for breakfast every morning.
Wow.
People think I'm crazy, but I'm used to people thinking I'm crazy. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I just need to plug in my computer.
Sure.
The plug is right here. So we've tried to have fun with the prizes, and for as low as $1 and as high as $5,000, you can be a backer in the campaign. For $5,000, you're actually invited to come out and visit us on the farm. You wouldn't have to stay in the chicken coop. We will give you the guest house. But we really want to make it a community. We really want to make it about people who care about the country moving forward, people who care about Nigerians having access to high quality tomato paste, because right now the stuff coming from China, a lot of it is low quality. A lot of it has flour, starch, food coloring. It's expired. They're putting a different expiration date on it. And we really want to put the tomato back in the paste.
Wow, that's interesting, because you wouldn't think of people putting expired tomato paste in the U.S. and recycling it for people to use, because a bunch of lawsuits and all that stuff. But obviously in Africa, the laws are not effectively executed. So you need to be able to be conscious of the fact that what people are currently eating might be expired, could lead to health issues and stuff like that. Okay, so that's great.
Even in my former job, with Clinton, you would find expired medicine, coming into the continent. And Africa has been a dumping ground for, global production lines for decades. Yeah. And I think it's time for a change. I think that this continent can actually be producing so many of the things that it's importing right within its own borders, especially Nigeria. Nigeria has so many educated people, has such a dynamic workforce. It's the largest economy in Africa. It's the largest country by population in Africa. And I think that they really have an opportunity to step up and be a leader for the continent and sort of lead by example, by producing a lot of their own things.
Nicely done. So we're beginning to wind down the show. I know we've spoken about a lot, and it seems like there's still more to go. And I'd love to hear more. Well, obviously, I know you're a hustler, and so time is precious to you. And I just want to be respectful of your time and
Sure.
knock out a few quick questions, and then we'll let you get on the hustle and keep making that money. So just a few questions. So, who is an entrepreneur that you admire the most, and why?
Oh my gosh. That's it. Well, honestly, it's my dad, which maybe is like lame because he's not famous or anything like that.
That's
But
fine.
my dad is an entrepreneur as well. So is my brother. I think it sort of runs in our family. But he started his own company when he was 40. He was actually 44 because I was 4 years old. He's 40 years older than me. And he started it out of the downstairs of our house. And when I was little, I actually didn't have babysitters because I used to just play in the office, and like the secretary would watch me while I was, whatever I was doing, playing with the paper clips and doing all that stuff. And he approaches work with so much focus and so much drive, and was able to create a 300-person company in a country that he wasn't from. So he's from India. He traveled to the U.S. for school, and he ended up, first working at a few different research positions, and then realizing that that he had an idea that he had conviction about, and that he wanted to pursue that idea. And he did, and he grew the company, and they had, lots of challenges and lots of fear. And, my parents put my brother and my high school education like on a credit card. That's how much they believed in the company and what they were trying to do. They were like, sure, we'll figure out a way to pay this off, and so, that kind of belief, and then not just the belief, but the drive and the focus to actually make it into something that does succeed is so inspiring to me. And like living, under the roof of somebody who was able to do that is so inspiring, and at the same time, as my dad, he always had time to play with me. I never realized,
He was busy.
how much he was doing until I'm in the same position now. And I'm like, wow, I don't even know how you managed to have a family and, take me for walks and teach me about science and do, chemistry experiments with me and read to me at nighttime when you were in the middle of launching this whole thing yourself. So he inspires me every day, through his integrity and through his hard work and through his focus and vision.
Nice. That's incredible. And what of your brother? What does he do?
So my brother actually lives in Tokyo. Both of me and my brother have decided to pursue opportunities in countries far away from where he grew up in Boston. He lives in Tokyo, and he is a gamer and a game designer. So he's actually creating a mobile game for phones, for the Android and for the iPhone. So if you guys, I don't know if anybody in the audience ever played Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
It's like a role-playing game. He's creating that for mobile phones.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. We're in a similar position with our companies. So, we'll get on calls once a week and talk to each other about, what challenges are you facing? What challenges are you facing? And give each other advice, keep each other pumped up. We're very close. I think I'm very lucky to have a family that's so supportive of me and that I'm so close to. So it's fun to be going through the same process, granted in very, very different fields on very, very different continents. But there are still a lot of similarities with what we're trying to do and how we're going about it.
Nice, exactly. That's nice. And so could you tell us some of the useful resources that have helped you on your entrepreneurial journey? I see a lot of books on your shelf back there. So what are some of your favorite books and why?
Oh gosh. So my tendency when I read is actually to read novels more than to read nonfiction, just because I feel like I like to be transported into another world when I have free time to do. But that said, one of the books that I'm reading right now is actually the book written by the group who started the 1 Acre Fund in Kenya. And it's so useful because it talks so much about the farmer experience, the smallholder experience, how a company actually can work with farmers And it's a story too. It's not just boring facts about X, Y, Z, but it really is written, in a very, very lyrical way, which I always love to read. I love to read for the story. So that's been a book that's been, very, very useful to me recently. And then, besides that, I think reading, obviously at HBS, we have to read some of the books that our professors have written. So The Founder's Dilemma is a great book. And it goes through so many different things that you face as an entrepreneur, interpersonal, equity, everything. One of the other, books that maybe is a weird book to, talk about or think about, there's a class at HBS called Authentic Leadership Development. And it's all about sort of, as I said, the soft skills are so important, and the interpersonal piece of it is so important, and figuring out how to be inspiring and figure out how to, I guess, be comfortable being vulnerable in front of other people, and realizing that actually can sometimes be more inspiring than just coming on with a strong face and this big smile and saying everything's going to be okay. But, sharing those fears, sharing, the doubts that you have, can actually be just as inspiring to other people around you. And so one of the books that we read in the course of that is called Difficult Conversations. Okay. And I found that to actually be a really good, useful guide for me, in terms of just how to think about, talking to people that you want to buy from, people that you want to sell to, your co-founder, your investors. I mean, everything, as I said, when you're in execution mode, everything is about how are you executing in the context of other people? Yeah. And how are you, getting to the point where you're understanding what they need, and that they're understanding what you need, and you're understanding whether or not you can sort of make those needs meet. So that's also been sort of super helpful for me.
Cool. And I guess this question is twofold. So what would you advise young entrepreneurs that are just getting out of school and thinking of setting up a venture either in Africa or anywhere else, just like you did coming from the US to set up a business in Africa? So what's some of the key advice you'd advise someone in your shoes that's trying to start? Because I know you're just starting, but also you already have some experience working on the ground, and so you've shared a lot of wisdom as to what you've learned so far, and I think it would be very helpful for someone that's still on the fence with a good idea but is afraid of, take for example, we've spoken about the Boko Haram crisis. Africa is facing the Ebola challenge, and then people have pulled back just because they assume the whole of Africa has Ebola, whereas it's look at it, it's just a small subset of the continent, and it's actually aggressively being fought by the medical agencies now. So
sure. So I think specifically for emerging markets, the data asymmetries are very, very, very real. And so I think one of the most valuable things that you can do as a young entrepreneur who's trying to decide if there's an opportunity somewhere is to go there and check it out and see for yourself, because you're never going to get as far as you want to by sitting at a computer screen and trying to get research reports and things like that, that you pull off the internet, or even by going to the library and pulling out, reports and things that, maybe McKinsey or BCG or somebody have written. I think it's so important. And this is something that I learned, when I was working with the Clinton Health Access Initiative too. I was doing national forecasts for HIV, and I realized that I actually had to go to the 20 biggest hospitals in the country and pull out their data records and find out how many children are alive and getting HIV treatment, because the numbers that are coming to the national figure don't make sense. You have to go there and you have to pull that data out, and then you find out a better idea of what the truth is, what's really happening on the ground. So I think that is absolutely crucial. As much as you can, if you think you see an opportunity, go there and try and check it out for yourself. And go there with an open mind, understanding, I think I know what this opportunity may be, but I'm open to listening to and hearing from people who are on the ground if they may be telling me something different, or maybe, telling me something that I didn't think I was going to hear. That's really crucial. I think as I had already said, if you're a student and you're trying to start a company, take advantage of being a student, take full advantage of being a student, even though you feel like you're super, super busy, and you are, because I was, super, super busy when I was a student in HBS, you're not actually as busy as you are when you're in the real world. You do have time. You can make the time. Go meet with professors. Go meet with anybody who will talk to you. My own personal advice is, like, don't be too shy about sharing your idea and talking about it with people, because I think that actually can help you get really good feedback and really good advice and meet really good people who will want to help you, as opposed to keeping it so close to your chest that it never gets to breathe and you end up suffocating it, right? You end up not actually being able to drive that idea because you were never able to evolve it.
Yeah.
I think that's, also really, really important. And I think, try to have fun. Like, if you're, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I thought it would be a whole lot more exciting and fun than, working at one of the 3 jobs that I got an offer for. I didn't want to sit at a desk job every day. So, when you're thinking about what the opportunity is going to be, like, think to yourself, like, what is it really going to feel like for me to be doing this? And this is actually going to be something, that's fun for me to do every day, because you're going to live it, breathe it for however many years. So you should want to do it. It should be something that gives you energy, and not something that's taking energy away from you.
Yeah. Cool. And you've covered a lot of these, actually. So
I talk a lot. One of my dad's friends told me that when I went to Harvard Business School, they taught me how to talk very well.
Yeah, you've covered a lot of these, actually. So, yeah. So, okay. So this will be probably the last bit of direct personal advice, and
oh gosh.
And also, I want to put it like this. Tell us about a time when you've experienced a personal failure or tragedy, and how did you overcome that?
Oh boy. Personal failure or tragedy?
Or a failure or a tragedy.
Okay. I guess, wow. I'm trying to think of, like, one that, there's definitely a lot, but I'm like, what will I be comfortable sharing?
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable sharing, of course.
I guess one of the things that has been not necessarily a failure, but something that's been, tough is, when Shane and I started this project back in January, we actually had a team of 4.
Okay.
There were 4 of us that were working on this project together, and I was always the one who was sort of driving it because it was my idea, and I was the one who was really considering doing it full time. And over the course of that semester, Shane, I think, came on board and really decided that he, also believed in this idea enough to not recruit and to take it on full time. But I think, I still have some regrets about losing the other 2 team members. The 4 of us had a great time working together, had a really good dynamic. And, especially one of the other girls on the project, was one of my very, very close friends at HBS. And I would still want to work with her on something in the future. It didn't work out for her to join the project with us full time because of, she has, like, some cash flow demands that, need to be met, and, wasn't necessarily in a place where financially she was able to take a job without a salary. And, it's hard to lose somebody who you trust and who you enjoy working with and who you laugh with and who you have, that great dynamic with, when you really feel like, wow, like, we could be making this 5 times better even if we had, those 2 other teammates still with us. And so, it can be hard when you have to shift and when you have to pivot and when you have to think about, well, where are we going to get that expertise, or where are we going to get that skill set? And it's not just like, where are we going to get that skill set from a work perspective, but where are we going to get that, that dynamic from a person perspective and a company perspective, those people that were, the ones that made us laugh when it was 3 a.m. and we're like trying to do this PowerPoint presentation that's due in 5 hours and we're like tearing our hair out, or the one who, buys Swedish fish for the team and is like, hey guys, like the random, whatever it was, that kind of thing. It's hard. Change is always hard, right? And companies are always changing because they're living, breathing organisms. And so I think you have to sort of figure out a way that helps you to, continue to move forward and continue to drive the business forward and say, okay, not to take those kinds of things personally, right? To be like, well, there were other circumstances that prevented this person or these people from being able to stay with the team. And that's probably going to be the case as we grow. We're certainly not going to be the same team and the same makeup of, the same 7 people that we are right now as an organization. We're probably going to, A, be a lot bigger, and B, maybe have, different components in terms of who's our head agronomist or who's our head, farm manager or who's our chief irrigation specialist or whatever it is. And I think, making sure that you are able to build an institution that can withstand and a culture that can be maintained even when there are different people in those positions is really important to try and figure out. So, it's tough. It's not always easy, and you don't always get the results that you want. You don't always, have every single superstar that you would want to hire be on your team, and then you figure out, well, how do we reset? How do we keep going forward? It's like every one of those failures that it's not about getting knocked down. It's about how quickly you get back up.
Yeah, true. And your partner, Shane, that's on the ground with you, tell us more about him. I'm really sad he couldn't be here to share his own bit of the story, but it seems like he's just an amazing guy, right in the thick of things, sleeping in the chicken coop. Tell us a little bit about him.
I could not do this without Shane. Shane is incredible. So he, first of all, has so much positive energy. It's crazy. Like, he only sleeps, I think, 3 hours a night or something. When we spent however many 10 intense weeks together, traveling through Ghana and Nigeria, and it was his first time in West Africa. He'd never been to Nigeria. He went to Ghana first, and when we were in Ghana, everybody in Ghana was like, don't go to Nigeria. Oh my God, Nigeria will kill you. They cheat, they lie, blah, blah, blah. And Shane is just like, why are we going to Nigeria again? Ghana seems pretty good, and I was just like, okay, we're setting the bar low, and I was like, please don't quit, Shane, gotta just get through this, But he's got such an open mind, and he came into Nigeria, and the bar was admittedly very low, and even on day one, he was like, wow, people have a really big misconception about this country and about the people who live in this country and about what this country is all about, because Nigeria, clearly just is getting a bad reputation. And that just sort of speaks volumes to his character, his personality. He's, I'm the one sitting on my floor, listening to my heart race, and Shane's like, come on, let's go, do this next thing. We can do it. He's definitely such a positive driving force in the company. He's such a fast learner. We're not farmers, but Shane has read probably every book that you can on tomato production and tomato processing, and has become a de facto expert to the point where he can carry his own in conversations with the agronomist. Not just I know enough to be dangerous, which is how much I know, but he actually has studied and learned it inside and out. And being a fast learner, being willing to just go out and try things, being willing to sleep in the chicken coop, and being willing to actually be the one that's on the ground, managing our team of 5 when the wheelbarrow breaks or when we run out of water. It just speaks volumes to sort of his personality and his intelligence and his integrity as a person to be the other half of this business, because it's a lot to take on. And while my family at least has been to Nigeria and understands a little bit about, emerging markets, because my dad is from India, Shane's family is Irish, and they're like, what the heck are you doing? How do we raise our son to go and do this random thing? We don't even understand what you're doing, and for him to sort of take that in stride and still want to come through and work on this and give it 110% every day. It's so encouraging, and it's very, very inspiring for me every day to have a co-founder who really, really believes the dream.
Nice. Well, Mira, we've reached the end of the show. I've had so much fun. It's been 2 hours talking, and I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface, and the company is still just a couple months old.
I know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel too.
It's really been fun. It's really been fun. And before I let you go, I just want you, because guys, we're really trying to make sure that these guys raise the $50,000. Like she just said, it's all or nothing on Kickstarter, and with only 6-7 days to go, it's this. This is actually my first show where I'm recording video. The video is going to be up. I don't know what I'm going to host it on or whatever yet. I'll cross that bridge like as soon as I hang up with Mira. But it's going to be up, and then it's going to be aired almost instantaneously. So as soon as I finish editing, I'm just going to put it straight online. I'll send everybody an email and I'll direct traffic to it. So this is something where I'm trying to turn this around as quickly as possible, because I really believe in what these guys are doing. I'm going to support them too. I like everybody that listens to this show, that loves this show, that likes what we're about, to also like put your money where your mouth is. That's what I'm calling you out. So everybody, that all my prior guests that have been on the show, I'm calling you guys out too. This is not the ice bucket challenge. This is the tomato sauce challenge. So so let's get some sauce growing. Help these guys out. Let's help them achieve their goal, even if they. So what happens if you do exceed the goal of 50,000?
So every extra dollar we get, we can spend on programming on the farm. So as I said, we've got 5 employees now. We've got the 6th one starting on Monday. We've got payroll to meet. We've got farms to grow, hectares to plow. If we exceed the goal by a lot, we can actually get, more high quality processing equipment. And that would be awesome, or we can actually start to pay for the housing that the equipment will go into, because that, the equipment doesn't just sit in the field. We actually have to build a building that it will go into. So there's certainly no shortage of programmatic spend for that money to get into. We've got a couple of stretch goals. If we were going to be able to achieve like $300,000, we'd be able to buy a fully integrated processing equipment that actually can do packaging as well. I don't know that we're going to hit that in 6 days, but anybody generous who's out there, if you want to contribute, 10 grand, throw it at us. We will absorb it.
Great. So yeah, just give any other final pitch, any extra giveaway, anything at all for Tomato Jaws, anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, it's been a huge pleasure talking to you all. I think, one thing that we do want to actually advertise, I said this in an update, but I think I want to make it very clear on the show as well, is that for those people who are backing us in New York, Boston, Lagos, and Abuja, and possibly in Washington, D.C. as well, we're going to have what we call paste parties in the spring. So instead of sending you the prizes that you select if you back us, you can actually come and have a party, and by being a backer, you'll receive free admission into a pretty fun event that will be, you'll get to meet us, you'll get to meet each other, we'll get to eat some tomato product, we'll get to drink and dance, maybe we'll get flavor to one of the concerts if I can wrangle it. We'll have ourselves a good old-fashioned time. So that's one more reason to back us. And I throw a pretty good party. When I turned 25 in Abuja, I actually threw a party that had 300 people.
Wow.
We partied on the same night as there was a new club opening at the Sheraton, and I actually drew a bigger crowd than the opening at the club. So I know how to throw a good party. If that's not a reason to back us, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But, look forward to meeting all of you. I really appreciate the support that we've gotten already. Looking forward to getting a bit more support in this last week. And, Chi, thank you so much for letting me share my story with your audience. I think I'm really excited about it, and I hope you guys are all too.
Great. Well, there you have it, guys. Love the enthusiasm, love the passion, love the product, love the team. I love it all. I love the sauce. I haven't tasted it yet, but I'm sure I'm going to love it too.
Yes.
I love what you're doing, and I think this is something that's really necessary. It's needed, and I know it's something that resonates with a lot of people, because like I said, I saw it on Twitter through a friend of mine, and then in some of the Nigerian forums, people are talking about it and posting about it. So this is something that we should all get behind and support. And who knows, maybe your project is going to be on Kickstarter one day and you need the knowledge and the wisdom Mira has shared to help you get your successful project off the ground and up and running. So this is one way for you to like pay it forward and also like expect to receive something in the future. It might not be in a similar way, but it could also be, you never know what serendipitous things can come out of supporting a venture like this. So I just want to encourage everyone. I'm still going to harp on this every day for the next 7 days because I want to make sure that they get that money. And so it's just been a pleasure having you on the show, Mira. I'm getting interrupted, that's okay. You and Shane, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I'd love to meet you guys and see it. I don't know about coming to Cafe, so
You're welcome to come to Cafe anytime, and I'm actually going to be in New York next week, so maybe we can link up then.
All right, cool. That'll be fun. So there you have it, guys. So just support Mira, support the team, support the product, support Shane. And until next week, guys, it's been a pleasure bringing the show to you guys. I love what I do. I love what I'm doing. I want to keep doing more of this because I really like hearing these type of stories. They're very inspirational. They're why I got into this in the first place. So thank you, Mira. Thank you, Shane. When you're listening to this, it's been a pleasure hearing your story. And obviously, I look forward to seeing more great things out of Tomato Joss somewhere down the road in the future.
Don't let another minute go by without taking action to change your life. Visit Audacy.com right now for more incredible resources, and we'll see you next time on Audacy, the Bulletproof Entrepreneur.